Thank you. I am extremely excited to be here. Before I get started, I'd like to take maybe 75, maybe 90 seconds to tell you a bit about my background, where I come from, why I'm even interested in the topic of innovation and diversity. So I'll do that now. The answer to the question where I come from is my parents. So you need to know something about my parents. My mother is black and Cherokee. My dad is Swedish, and they met in Germany. But I was born and raised in Sweden, which is located here. So now, something about Sweden during the time I grew up in this country. Okay, Sweden consisted essentially of two groups of people. One group was blonde, blue-eyed, and quite reserved. And the other group was me, basically. This is a joke, obviously. It's me and my sister. It's where I went to college. I studied environmental science for the following reasons. And when I did that, I saw there were a lot of different scientific researchers at this campus, but I didn't really feel that they were connecting the purpose of the research with each other. I wanted them to do that, so I created a magazine for that. That inspired me to start a healthcare company based on my aunt's research at Johns Hopkins. After that, I went to business school, and then I started a software company, which did quite well until it didn't. And then I got an idea for a book. It was based on intersections. I had seen that in my life, whenever I combined ideas from different cultures I've been exposed to, or from the different industries I've been exposed to, I had a better chance of developing something groundbreaking. And I wondered, is that the generalized truth for innovation? So I decided to research that, which took me far longer than I ever imagined. I was literally down to my last $2.45, but things started turning around. The book came out. It was you can ask me later why it's called Medici, but it was very well received. At this point, it's translated into 17 languages. I get to do speaking engagements all over the world. In the middle of all this, in fact, I got married, and here's my 11-month-old daughter, and now I'm here with you. This is based on my story up at this particular point in time. Thank you. Okay, so some say that the world is connected, okay? But sometimes the world sure can seem divided. Right? It's divided along generational lines, for instance. There's people from one generation that believes that their heroes and inspiration comes from people like Martin Luther King, and then they look at their kids, and they believe that their inspiration comes from the DJs at the dance clubs of hip-hop or techno. It's divided along values. Some people believe that banking is critical as a backbone for our society, and that necessitates a big difference between the world's rich and those less fortunate. Banker's bonus, for instance, this year was probably the biggest ever. And then there's others that believe that there should be far more equity, and they try to eradicate the world's poverty through, say, charity, although charity donations have been down roughly 50% this year. It's divided along education. That some people believe that there's a catastrophe coming in education. It's not broad enough. It is too standardized. And we're taking away things like art. We're taking away things like music for our kids. And then there's others that believe that we need to be far more specialized, far more focused, particularly when it comes to technology and science. In this global economy, if we don't have standards, we will fall behind. It is divided across cultures. In some places, women can wear pretty much whatever they want. In others, tradition and rules dictate how they should wear what to cover up what body part. It is divided along environments. We build more buildings than ever before. Yes, this is a short-term blip, but all the long-term trends speak for a vast increase in buildings. And building a building takes a lot of energy. Running a building takes a lot of energy. Imagine what will happen when China, India, and Africa all have air conditioning in every single one of their buildings. And then there's others that will look at a place like this on African savanna, a termite mound there, and say, you know, this is a place that has to be protected. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Or are we simply becoming cemented in our views? Are we becoming cemented in our views? My answer is yes. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We can shift. We can connect. It requires us to reverse our assumptions. Assumptions are reversed. Take, for instance, the notion of cement, right? You can look at that and you can make the assumption that you can't see through it. It's not see-through. But what happens if you decide to connect cement with optical fibers? These are glass rods, essentially, that will conduct light. And if you lay them horizontally across the cement, you should be able to build a wall. But you would make that wall see-through. Okay? This is a hand. You can see it on the other side of the wall. The company in Hungary, Litracon, has done exactly that. They have taken walls, and then they pull these optical fibers, sometimes up to the ground. That means they can build basements with daylight. This is the way that you innovate. You innovate by making unusual connections, connecting things that are disparate. So what are the rules to innovation? With the remaining 12 minutes, 13 minutes, I'm going to walk through the 6 rules of innovation. Here's the first one. All new ideas are combinations of existing ideas. Okay, so take this guy. His name is Mick Pierce. He's an architect. He receives this challenge one day. He's to build the largest building in Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe, but this building is to contain no air conditioning, right? This is intriguing because on occasion, it gets hot in Zimbabwe. But he manages to accomplish this by combining his field of expertise with the field of termite ecology. So here's how it works. Termites build these mounds on the African savanna, and they need to keep an exact 87 degrees Fahrenheit inside of these mounds in order to grow fungi, which helps them digest wood. But of course, the temperature on the African savanna can fluctuate between 40 at night and over 100 degrees during the day. So how do the termites do it? Well, here's what they do. They build these vents around the base of the mound, and they redirect air breezes into these vents into a cool pool of mud at the bottom of the mound. And then they circulate this air up. And by opening and closing vents constantly, they can regulate the temperature exactly. So Mick Pierce looked at this and he said, well, hold on. I can use the same principle for my building, which is what he did. Eastgate is the largest building in Harare. It uses no air conditioning, which saved them $4 million right away. And it uses about 90% less energy than any other building around it, with a static temperature of about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Innovative? It's up there. Why do we call it innovative? What is so special about this? Why do we call this particular idea innovative? It comes down to the second fact of innovation, which is that not all idea combinations are created equal, right? The closer connected a concept is, the less likely it is to actually be groundbreaking. Where if it's far apart, if it seems like an unlikely connection, you increase the chance of it being very innovative. Take a bikini, for instance. If you combine that with something like, say, a beach, right? You're not going to be flabbergasted by the innovative potential this offers. But if you combine it with a burqa, well, now maybe there's something interesting here. And a woman named Ahida Sinetti, Lebanese woman, she moved, a traditional Muslim woman, she moved to Australia. And there she realized that Australia has a very strong beach culture. And essentially the dress code for the beach in Australia is something like this. But for a traditional Muslim woman, you have to go swimming in something like that, which, frankly, is not very comfortable. So most of them end up sitting on the beach while their husbands and kids go swimming. And so she looked at that and said, well, hold on. Why can't I combine my traditional Muslim culture with the Australian beach culture? Why can't I combine a burqa with a bikini? Why can't I create the burkini, which essentially is the burqa out of bikini material? Now take a look at this and imagine just for a moment what you think the market would be for something like this. Her company is taking off like crazy all over the world. And you know what's really fascinating about this, I think? It is that how come nobody thought about this before? I mean, this is uncomfortable, and you know it, right? But the thing is, almost all innovative ideas seem obvious after the fact.